Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. Our guest today is Zac Thompson returning. The last time we talked to you was right before Cemetery Kids Must Die, when you also had a bunch of projects that you weren't allowed to talk about yet. Since then, all of those projects have come out, and you're back to more Cemetery Kids. So we got Zac Thompson, who we can now say does Cemetery Kids and Blown Away and Into the Unbeing and what's the Mad Cave one? I can't remember the name of it right now.
The body trade.
The
Oh, that was
Body Trade. That's right. So like you've been just like killing it and all over the places. I'm gonna take credit. Nobody knew who you were. You came on my show and all your books sold at
That's
once.
what did it. Yeah,
there we
that's what
go.
did it.
The five or six listeners that
You'll
just
you'll
made them go. We got to get on top of this.
few but powerful. That's the listener base here.
Something like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm just messing around, Zach. It's so nice, so nice to have you back.
I also
Yeah,
saw
thank you.
you've been curating movie nights at your local theater.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've like since then also become a film programmer through random happenstance, but that's been really fun too. So sort
Right.
of like a side gig on top of writing comics.
Okay. It's always I'm always curious as to the gig priority and where comics falls in it, you know, in one of those sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, like to talk about it a little bit, just because it's sort of interesting. I work or I live on a very tiny island in Canada, and
Mhm.
it has one cinema, and one independent cinema anyway. And so the people who run that cinema, kind of came to me and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in programming? We're trying to kind of gear our programming towards a younger audience, and we know that you're sort of involved in film and you're involved in the creative industry, and we sort of want to like cater to that kind of person." And I was like,
Wait a minute. Are
hell.
you saying your island is small enough that a comic writer is actually considered a local celebrity?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I
There we
mean,
go.
like I like the island is 150,000 people total.
Okay.
So it's super duper small. So what I do is very unique here. Farmers and
Nice.
fishermen. Farmers and fishermen.
Farmers and fishermen.
That's what make up the island.
All right. And then
S-
you're in the mix there, bringing them horrors beyond the pale.
Trying, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean I interrupted there. What kind of movies do you bring to the theater and then what's the experience? You just bring the movies or is there a discussion group? Uh yeah.
A little bit of everything, honestly. Like, so it's interesting, right? Because it's like sometimes the ideal version of anything is like, I'll just do whatever I want, and like people will show up, and it's like, well, you sort of have to understand what people are already going to and what the existing sort of like customer base of a place is, and then you have to
Mhm.
sort of like make sure that they're served, and then sort of program interesting things. So like, coming up. We have like our, for whatever reason, Pride Month on the island is in July here, not in
Hmm.
June. So we
I
still
think
celebrate.
that I think that's Canada, isn't it?
Well, some places in Canada, it's like, for example, in
Okay.
like Toronto, it's in June, and then in Vancouver celebrates in July, and we're sort of in
Okay.
the July. I don't really know why. It's a little silly.
I
Like,
thought I thought it was officially Canada was July, but because you guys are so comfortable with Pride Month, unlike your horrible neighbors to the south, that you just
yeah.
go ahead and celebrate our Pride Month too.
We kind of do though. Like, so it's like basically a two
It's
month
like you
thing.
get the
Like,
summer. It's Pride
yeah.
summer.
But I mean, like, it's great, right? So, like, part of this is like I've programmed a bunch of screenings with our local Pride group. So we're doing a bunch of
Oh,
different,
awesome.
like, kind of queer cinema throughout the last few decades and sort of touching on things that are sort of like interesting or were very progressive for their time. So like, the Dog Day Afternoon with like Al Pacino, which most
Okay.
people think is just like a bank robber film, but you find out, have you guys seen it?
It's to pay for
I
the
haven't, no.
sex change operation.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, and that was in the mid 70s, right?
Yeah.
Very, very
Hmm.
progressive for the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
trying sort of to teach people about the history of these things and so how they've been in conversation and again like partnering with our local Pride community group so we can kind of have Q and
Well, and
A's and
wasn't
stuff.
wasn't Dog Day Afternoon also a true story? Wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like again, like trying to thread the needle and that sort of stuff. So that's what I've been really interested in is like kind of finding out how to like bring different communities into the space and then use it as a way to sort of create like a cultural touchstone for people. And like it's neat because like the whole province is sort of involved. So like
Hmm.
because there's a lot of like funding for the arts in Canada, um, I like have to sometimes go to meetings with like people in the local government and say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. Like, would you guys be interested in giving us money to put this sort of stuff on?" And they're usually like, "Yeah." And that's not very common for people in America, I'm sure.
No,
I was
no.
about to say, I feel like he's talking about all sorts of subversive things here.
Just being in
Government
Yeah,
funding for artists. Next,
yeah.
you're going to tell me
For
that your health care is paid for.
You're
uh,
not gonna believe this. Yeah.
yeah, publicly accessible queer art. Yeah, that doesn't that's pretty rare around here, unfortunately. So yeah, that's so exciting though that you've got like a touch of the local and it seems like such a cool thing to be able to work on the programming for an independent theater like that. So
Yeah,
um
it was definitely born of like I don't know if you guys like we're chatting online right now and a lot of
mhm,
my interactions with people are this, right? Like because I'm writing
mhm,
comics all the time, I'm just chatting with people who don't actually live in my local community. I have my friends and
mhm.
stuff here, but at the end of the day, like when this opportunity came up, I was like, "Oh, like I can go out and I can like hang out with people who live here and learn how to connect with people
Wait a
who
minute, wait a minute.
are
This stuff is just blowing my mind. Face-to-face conversations?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who would have ever
That's
thought, right?
that's allowed?
Yeah.
You're
But
not
it
afraid that they'll shoot you? Oh,
no.
It's
wait,
Canada.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You don't. Oh.
Oh,
How old are you, Zach? Do you want to adopt a 45-year-old?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm a little
there we
younger,
go.
but I'm sure I can figure it out.
We'll chalk it up to a Claire in the
I could be
kids
your
world.
younger dad. Yeah.
There we go. It has to have happened at least once before.
You won't mind having great grandchildren, will you?
No, no.
All right. Oh, so with that, okay, so now Cemetery Kids, the title's changed. You are now Cemetery Kids Run Rabid.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember
Let's have the
you. Oh,
well, let's
sorry.
start with the front counter pitch. Let's have a front counter pitch for center Cemetery Kids Run Rabid. I walk into your comic store and you want me to buy it. What do you say to me? Other than I'm awesome and I made this comic, because that's cheating. Not every comic shop owner can do that.
So I genuinely just tell people like in a sentence, it's Nightmare on Elm Street meets Sword Art Online. Um,
Okay.
and then if you want to go deeper than that, it's about four friends who play video games in their sleep. The idea is that they're fully immersive, playable nightmares that you wake up fully rested from with no side effects, with the asterisk being that, of course, there's side effects. And in the first volume, Cemetery Kids Don't Die, one of their friends got trapped inside the video game and didn't wake up. Spoilers, but volume one ends with them succeeding in waking up their friend. However, as you read volume two, maybe they didn't actually wake their friend up. Maybe they woke something else up and something has come back from the game and has sort of transversed the species barrier, let's say, into the real world.
It's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Um, Gosh, so that's immediately has me. So I hadn't thought. I guess it. So on reading, or because I did a reread, I reread volume one and then read into volume, the first issue that you let us get a peek at, and I feel like with this new volume, you're pushing the near future aspect a bit more than I
Hmm.
at least it was definitely there in the first volume. It was just easy to overlook. And so definitely saying species, it's one of those that, oh, this game system they play is most likely some kind of biotech, when you
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
the little tubes go into their ears and stuff like that. Um, but uh, yeah, that's got me thinking that what if that technology was discovered instead of invented? Um, that's certainly an interesting uh, you know change of pace. That also to just have a brief tangent back to what we were talking about. Have you seen the movie Vesper?
I have, yeah,
Okay.
and loved it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I showed it to my in-laws and they were perplexed, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Very like
Yeah,
wet tech world, which I just love that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Between that, you did I Breathed a Body, correct? Or was that
Yes, I did.
okay?
Yeah, yeah,
That's on my list of things to check out because I also love mushroom related horror shenanigans. So yes, that's like
yeah.
you gotta at that point. So I guess well, where my question was going is so with it's been about a year since we've talked. There's clearly a time jump in the book from volume one to volume two. I was just wondering how much has this story grown and changed in the time away? Is this still, the it's never quite the exact plan that you might have had, but how much of the time between do you think has influenced that?
So this book has had like an interesting life actually in that it was originally a graphic novel that was about like 200 pages long. Um, and then Oni completely collapsed all those years ago and sort of like, they laid off a ton of people and it seemed like things were done there. Um, so this book, which was under a different name and a very sort of similar story but different, right? This was several years ago at this point. Kind of died, and I thought, okay, it's done, it's dead. When Hunter Goranson took over Oni, very early on, he emailed me and he said, I'm going through the projects that we had in development, and I see one with your name on it, and I'd love to talk to you more about what was going on here because this is really interesting to me. But I just want to let you know that I don't really want to do it as an OGN. Like if we were to go ahead, you'd break it up into single issues. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And I was like, maybe let's chat. And so, um, obviously, like a 4 issue mini is very different than a 200-page graphic novel. So when they said, hey, you can do another mini series set in this world, I had like 110 pages of story that I had cut out of the original mini. So
Mhm.
the short answer is like some of this was planned and some of this we had a plan for, and some of it just organically evolved from how much the story changed when, like Daniel came on board and we designed everything because it's like they're two very different projects at the end of the day. But I still had a lot of like world building stuff and a lot of like ideas about where the story could go. And then like from working on volume one and where we ended volume one, it made a lot of sense to really just pick up immediately after that and drill down on like, okay, pick his home, but what happened to him and where was he, when he was gone in volume one, and sort of what does that mean? And I thought, well, it's a cool opportunity to do like like a possession story, essentially. Like what happens is if you were possessed by something that was basically technology and has now transferred its consciousness into you, is there any piece of you that still remains in that like flesh of yours? Is there
Mm.
humanity to that technology? All these things that I think are very interesting and also sort of drilling deeper down on like idea that the first volume was scratching out, which is like, how much do you invest yourself in a secondary reality? Are you are the experiences of your character in the game different than your experiences? Which I would say no, but this volume even drills down deeper on that sort of stuff. That was a very long answer to a very simple question, but might be
No,
interesting.
I like long answers. That was a lot. That was a lot going on. That was great.
Long answers means we don't have to talk as much.
Less editing.
There you go.
What, editing? I think you haven't listened to this podcast before.
We prefer the raw, unedited, uncut
I mean,
Brandon
don't get
there.
me wrong. If you say something that you're worried will get yourself in trouble, we'll go back and we'll take it out. But otherwise, editing.
Right. Oh goodness. But yeah, that
Oh
again
my
on
God,
the
you wrote about Alex Jones getting something right?
No. Well, I mean, it's a joke article, but I wrote an
Okay.
article in it's about Alien Covenant, and he
Yes, I
made all
see
these
that.
prediction
nice.
videos about Alien Covenant, and I treated it very seriously. But if you read the article, it's
Okay.
Interesting.
all
Interesting.
making fun of him.
Okay. Good.
That's the classic clickbait headline there, Tad. That
Yes, yeah. I
It
mean,
is.
yeah.
It's just, I mean, I was pleased that it does have a parenthetical and wrong, but it's like everything Alex Jones got right is wrong about
yeah,
Alien Covenant. And I'm like, Zach.
and keep in mind that was written. Alex Jones was a very different character
Yeah.
at that point in time, But
He
yeah,
hadn't
I don't
gone
know if
through
I'd
his
go
arc.
very different, but
yeah.
a little
Well, it's
different.
Yeah.
still a piece of shit. But like we were still, I think, as a
St
culture clowning
still,
on him.
still a
Yeah.
lying asshole, but had not yet. Well, no, it's after he elected a president.
Hmm.
That's true.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah.
If
I was gonna say it was
it was 2007, not 2017.
there you go. There you go. Oh gosh. Can't now my head is reeling with all of the greatest Alex Jones moments that I can't unsee. Anyway, real quick.
Uh,
So
this is where
the
I will give a shout out to one of the few podcasts that I sometimes listen to, Knowledge Fight, where they watch and listen to Alex Jones, so you don't have
mm,
to. They they will play the best clips for you and tear them apart. And this is also where I discovered that not only is Alex Jones a big Star Wars fan, but he unironically seems to think that Emperor Palpatine is the hero.
hmm, yeah, that's
All right, that's a
that'll
take.
be the sequel article is what he got
He
right and wrong
had
about
Nick
Star Wars.
Fuentes. He had Nick Fuentes on, and they were talking about Revenge of the Sith and like all of the lessons to be learned about playing the corporations against the government and then just seizing power.
Good
Sitting there
Lord.
going,
Oh,
uh, uh, did you not realize that those are the bad guys?
it's a complicated morality system, but
No, no,
no,
it's
it's really
not.
not. It's not. Maybe for Alex Jones. But thankfully, I remembered. So one of the lines that caught me the most out of my reread of Volume One was when it was, oh no, Birdie. Birdie was musing that maybe her character is more real than she is because the character survived dying so many times, and that maybe she's the character that's being played. I thought that was really fascinating, and so at least in your long answer, it sounded like there were aspects of that. That one line is thesis statement sort of continue to percolate in the book, especially with, like you saying that, hey, he went somewhere and now he's back. So it's kind of, I'm thinking of, what's it called? There's some kooky pseudoscience belief where they think they can prevent illness by taking water that had things in it before. Um,
Oh shit, I don't know about this. This sounds
I
interesting
yeah.
to
don't
me.
know, but I
Oh,
imagine that Robert
I
F.
think you've heard of
Kennedy
it. He
is going
loves
to
it.
be telling us about it
He
any
loves
day.
that
Was
stuff.
that why they were swimming in that?
Maybe, but it was the idea. Ah, I'm kicking myself not remembering, but it was kind of that idea combined with, technological version control and editing maintenance. This idea that, when you said, or there's a line, it's a very minor throwaway line in this issue of that, oh, there the Dreamweaver leaves behind code or code slips into the brain somehow, is one of those things of, oh, anytime there's data interactions, they're sending, receiving those signals. So of course
Yeah.
you think, oh, I'm playing a video game. I am pushing the buttons. I'm doing something. And it's like, well, no, once you're hooked up to it, it's sending those signals. It's putting particles and things into you. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like so much of what I find fascinating about current technology and sort of like what I try to kind of weave into my work is like the things we use end up using us just as much, right? Like, we have this idea and like we're more knowledgeable about it now, but I mean like for years, right? We've been
Sometimes some
creating
people are.
yeah, yeah. But like you're trading your data, right, for
Mhm.
access to these things. And I think like AI might be the critical mass moment where it's like, yeah, we've been giving all of our art to these social media websites, and now they're using it to sort of train machines that they want to sort of like replace artists or whatever, right? And it's like
Mhm. Mhm.
Are you saying
that's
hello, Eddie? They're over there.
But that's like sort of what I find really interesting is like this idea that like, yeah, if you hook up your brain to a video game console and your brain is like part of the operating system, then of course it's going to leave stuff in your brain. And of course it's going to take stuff from you as well, right? Like it's a
That's
transaction.
that's that's only if you think that like corporations are evil.
Ooh,
Yeah,
so
they're very
that'll
benevolent.
Or at least completely amoral.
that is definitely another aspect. That well, I guess real quick,
There's no such thing as an amoral corporation. They all have our best interests at heart.
you need to
That's
be
how
alive to
they
spend that
make the
money.
most money. Right. Oh, wait a minute. You mean
Oh,
long-term thinking in a corporation?
definitely more rare.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm
it's
just
okay.
I'm just the gag guy today. I got nothing.
That's
This is
okay.
why I brought Phil. I knew he'd be on
Right.
top of it.
Someone who plays video games and thinks about fungus. That is for sure.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. What I was thinking of is the idea of, okay, again, there's a message board with various users mentioning that, oh, the dev said this, it's a preview for that. Um, that would definitely be something that I'm more interested in seeing as the series goes on, of the, hey, who are the people that made this thing, and do they realize what they've done or not? So I guess that leads to one of the things I was planning on asking is, so now that you're back, is this another mini series or officially an ongoing?
So it's another mini, but the idea is to like just keep building out the world and keep asking questions about what's going on because um Oni was very gracious, like honestly, like the way that this came into being was like issue one came out and went to a reprint pretty quickly. And then in like February of last year, after issue one came out, they called me and said, let's do more. And
Great.
they were very clear this time around to just like keep thinking about if you can do more and if you can just keep building this out. And like that's a very rare opportunity in comics. So I took it very seriously and thought, okay, well, how do we plant things in this world so we kind of expand the scope of everything and give us opportunities to sort of like paths to go down, but also things to think about. So like those forum posts that you mentioned, we see them in every issue of this second miniseries. I wanted to sort of like build out what does the general populace know about Cemetery Kids?
Hmm.
What are people saying? And sort of like how are people reacting to that, right? Because like if this happened in the real world, eventually people would start talking about it. But would they actually believe it? That's a whole other thing, right? And I think
Oh yeah.
there's something interesting to be said about
I
how,
mean, the answer is yes, but
yeah,
it would be a liberal conspiracy to turn
yes.
our children into something. And
But
yeah.
the flip of it is like, I would say that there's probably kids passing out from playing Fortnite for 12 or 14 hours, and we don't hear about stuff like that very often
Uh,
anymore. It used to be like in the early days of World of Warcraft, you would be like, this guy died in a gaming cafe because he was like waiting for hours and hours. And it's like, I mean, I don't run into that very often anymore, but I imagine it probably still happens, right?
it is kind of disturbing when you meet the people who brag about wearing Depends so that they can play longer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a weird flex for sure. I do remember, at least within the past couple years, there was a couple who essentially abandoned their child until it passed away. So yeah, so it's
Oof.
still happening. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's horrific. It's still happening. That yeah, so that is certainly fascinating of investigating the the deep hold that video games have on us, whether we realize it or not. So yeah, no, that is super cool as well. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have as many hard questions prepped this time, but it was it's something like,
Eh,
heck yeah, okay, here was another one that I was thought of.
we
So
don't need
back to
hard questions.
no hard questions. Um,
I'm okay
so
with softball questions. He's not a politician. Or are you? Are you running
No,
for office somewhere? Okay.
that's good.
no.
So
Well,
nobody else's like livelihood other than your animals and I don't know if you have a spouse or children. Nobody else's livelihood is in any way, shape, or form dependent on your opinions.
No, not at all.
Okay,
No.
then he's
Only
allowed
mine,
to
I
get
guess. Yeah.
softball questions
of
too.
Yeah.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
We
I
don't
guess
need to hold his feet to the fire.
these were more hard as in pre-written as opposed to but one of the things I was curious about, so you
Pre-written? What's
pre-written
that?
exactly. I know. But uh the artist ended up assisting Daniel. I don't know if you pronounce her name Gigi or JJ. Um,
GG
Gigi.
Shaw. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Thank you. But that was kind of where some of the thoughts, the question of how much has the story changed over time, and now hearing that hey, it was after issue one that you got the so to speak the green light to do more of it. I didn't know if her involvement was just to help keep the book on time, or if some elements of the story were getting changed as you were writing it. That's always it's a huge curiosity of mine when stuff like
Yeah.
that happens.
It was more to keep the book on time because what had happened is the Oni came out with like that big launch where our book was announced amongst a couple other titles when they were like coming back for this big relaunch. And we just like, and the inside baseball is like we just weren't
Mhm.
ready to launch when we did. So like we got two issues out and then we were already behind schedule. So that's actually part of the reason that this series is launching so far after the first series is because like the first series came out in February of 2024 and here we are, it'll be August 2025 by the time the second series comes out. But the thing is like we're
Hey,
almost completely finished, which is
Oh,
I
nice.
that's
mean,
good. That's great.
Yeah.
Brian and Fiona took like 3.5 years on. We
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
It it
yeah.
is about the pipeline though. Like I'm very I don't like books that are late. I know that people will wait for them and whatever, but I think like there's something about having your book on the shelf consistently month after month. And so that's important to me. And like, I just had a like Into the Unbeing had a break built in, but like, and the funny thing is like that's the first time I ever did that. And then we didn't end up needing it. Like we
Oh
finished
wow.
all of our work on the book like the day that the first issue came out. And then we
That's
already
incredible.
had the break built in. And so we were just like, ah, crap. Like,
I
it's
mean,
and it's like, better to have it not need it, right, than to
Oh
need it
yeah.
and not have it. Yeah.
And honestly, from both a consumer and my time in retail, one of the advantages of doing multiple um, series rather than an ongoing is that I think people will come back to something that they remembered with a new series way quicker and easier than they'll keep track of. I loved those first two issues. Where's issue three?
Yeah, I don't disagree. And that was part of the reason that we changed the title and stuff too. Like we really
Right.
wanted this to feel like a new thing. Like the what we kept talking about was like Indiana Jones, right? And the Temple of Doom or whatever. It's like
Hmm.
I like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I know who Indiana Jones is, and I just want to like follow this character and do a new thing. It keeps that sort of like
Right.
pulp tradition, but also like, you know, the other side of me was like, oh my God, like are we gonna lose all of our readers by like changing our title? But I'm like, I don't
No, because you got
know.
the Cemetery Kids.
Exactly. And that was the thing is
Yeah.
like, and then we got into the weeds on like, should it be like Cemetery Kids Can't Die and we just like alter it slightly, or do we really fuck with it? And we decided to really fuck with it. The cool
Yeah.
thing is like Oni is in this phase where they're so willing to experiment and so willing to sort of like let you do crazy things. Because I think like I've had this conversation with other publishers and they're like, no, you can't change your title. Like you just can't do it. And I was like, I think we should change the title. And they're like, let's do it. And then like we spent a few days tossing around all these different ideas for what we could call the book. And that's energizing. And I think like
Yeah.
that energy then comes through with the series itself too, where it doesn't feel like, oh, here's more of the same. It's like, no, it's a little different this time around. So,
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh,
and people can still say, "Oh, Cemetery Kids are back,"
mhm.
but but it's like you said, the Last Crusade versus Temple of Doom versus
mhm.
Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still gonna have number two on the spine, when you go pick it up.
Right.
So,
That
yeah.
was
Right.
that was the next thing of if they say that no, you can't change the title, you need to go back to them and say, well, you can't change the trade dress.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah. And
I've
that and the
seen
trade
so
dress
many of
is really
those.
consistent too, right? Like
Yeah.
the other thing is like they look like they belong together. That was the other part is like
Heck
because we
yeah.
have that sort of like NES style case that like with the title design on like on the side rather than at the top. And I really
Hmm.
wanted to keep that consistent too because we spent months agonizing over designing that. And so I didn't want to like
Wow. Yeah.
lose that aspect of it. And so I think we ended up in a really like good, happy medium. And then also just sort of like getting to, I don't know, rethink the book from like that marketing perspective is really fascinating to me because it just kind of lets us like reset expectations and do something new and interesting. And like, like the second volume is narrated by a different character than the first volume. And I really wanted to sort of like, because I just felt like Birdie's story's kind of done. She even says at the end of volume one, she's like, I don't really want to ask any questions anymore. Like, I'm just sort of done being introspective. And so I was like, it doesn't really make sense to start a new volume with her being introspective, right? And it's also this
Hmm.
moment where she's like, maybe there's something wrong with my brother, but I'm just happy to have him back. And then you're just sort of like, oh. And so I wanted to sort of like take a step back and go, okay, let's see Wilson's perspective here in volume two. Wilson's the character who like through the events of volume one got this horrible reaction to what happened to him. And, in this story, in this volume, can't play, right? Literally can't participate in the thing that defined their interactions in the first volume. So you have this character sort of on the outside looking in, and how does that color his perspective? And then sort of like, what is his journey, right? If Bertie's journey is like, oh, is my character more real than I am? The other side of it is like, well, who am I if I don't have my character or my escape anymore, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
imagine being in a world where like you're like, hey, I have this like sickness. I can't play Xbox with you guys anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, and it's like I just because of my condition, and people will be like, "What the fuck, man? Like, you can't." It's like, oh, I'm allergic to
Well,
PlayStation.
I need to get a
that
word for that.
that does actually lead me to a question that I had, and I hope I'm not making too much of a spoiler here, but like he was able to watch and communicate. Is that something? I don't feel like that was something that was in the last game. Is that something that he like hacked in, or is that
No,
a feature? You've got the option to not be fully
I
engaged.
think the kids call it Twitch, Ted.
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So it's basically just that. Yeah, he's just like watching them stream it, and the idea being that like in the
yeah, but I
first
didn't know
volume,
how you twitch a thing that you're sleeping, man.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah, and it's like here's the thing, right? It's like using the shorthand of like people are able to do that kind of thing,
Bringing up my
but
age. That was just rude.
but
I've
also
never.
like that was a distinct
I'm the one
choice
that
to be
does
like
that.
the we always see them in the game together in the first volume, right? There's no one, we
Mhm.
don't see the outside world where they're playing. And so again, to sort of add definition to the outside world, now we're seeing it from the perspective of someone who can't play and sort of building that out and what does that look like. And so yeah, we can see that people can interact with them. We can watch them play. We can speak to people who are playing even when we're not, right? And so it like introduces this element of like, are there other people out there doing that kind of thing? Like what the, how big is this? And sort of like what support systems do people have? And like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a situation where it's like, sometimes I'll just be chatting with friends on Discord and someone's like, hey, I'm going to stream this thing. Do you want to watch? And I'm like, yeah, like, oh, a good example is like, I had a buddy who got the new Mario Kart,
Mhm.
right? And we were just like chatting, and he's like, hey, do you want to watch me play Mario Kart? And I was like, hell yeah, I do, because I can't buy a Switch 2 right now. So yeah,
Wow.
show me how this is all going down. And so, it was like we were chatting on the phone, but I was just watching him race, and I was just like, this is the best. And also, my younger brother's a video game streamer, so the majority of time I'm interacting with my younger brother, like he'll be streaming. I'll go on his Twitch channel and be like, "Hey man, you want to go see a movie tonight?" And he'll like glance at chat and be like, "Yeah, man, just come pick me up at like 9." And then he'll be like right back into the game.
Wow. That is pretty funny. So to show my age a little bit, I've never watched anything on Twitch. I joke that it's just fake TV. So
I have watched podcasts on Twitch.
there you go.
I've never watched another person play a game on Twitch or YouTube.
Yeah,
I
I
I
mean,
I I
It's a
didn't even like
phenomenon.
sitting I didn't even like sitting next to a person to watch them play a game.
It's
It
wild.
just was like not my thing. And like my nephew has favorite people to watch play Minecraft.
oh yeah, yeah. It's huge, right? I like look, I grew up in the generation where it's like my older brother would rent a video game and maybe it was like too violent for me to rent it, right? So it's like I would watch him play and be like, "Whoa." But
Mhm.
like I didn't really get Twitch or anything like that until my younger brother was like, I'm gonna become a Twitch streamer. And I was like, yeah, good luck, buddy. And then it's like, he's legit, like, he's made it work. Like, he's been doing it for almost a decade and
Wow.
has like a nice following. Like, I'll go and watch him, and he's got like 4,000 other people watching him at any given time. And so it's like,
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
we went out for tacos one time. We both lived in Vancouver at the time, and someone stopped him and they're like, "Hey, are you Bakba Soup?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then the guy was like, "Hey, can you sign this thing?" And I was like, "Oh
Wow.
my God, like
And
your
you're
younger
like,
brother
I
said,
write comics.
yeah, yeah, please." Well, I go on a stream sometimes and like promote my books because I'm just like captive audience, like they're gonna, yeah,
Yeah.
support the brother. But
Hey,
it's
Yep.
I'm his big brother.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that there's like that ecosystem exists, and that's sort of how some people have relationships with each other now these days that just sort of like
Yeah.
it sort of eclipsed me, right? I'm 37, so it's sort of like it never really appealed to me.
Yeah.
I played a lot of video games with other people online, but the idea of like watching someone play never really made a whole lot of sense to me, but
Yeah.
you
See,
know.
I even like am just old enough that I haven't done much online playing. I've played with other people in the same room.
Yeah.
You
But I mean,
know,
like,
it
yeah,
was
it's
cool when the
Yeah.
system came out that you could hook four controllers too, rather
yeah,
than
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, I remember like begging my mom to take me to the store so I could get the Ethernet adapter to go in the bottom of my GameCube so I
Wow.
could
okay.
play Phantasy Star Online.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's
I
like,
do
that
remember
was,
that game. I never played
Yeah.
yeah.
that game, but I
I
remember the existence of that game.
I only ever played it offline, so I missed out.
Yeah, it was cool, but it was also just like pretty rudimentary, like at the end
Mhm.
of the day, like not a big MMO, like, you get paired with three random people. There's no voice chat or anything like that. So you're like
Well, see, here's
hand
my question.
pecking.
Has anybody here played Zork?
No.
No.
Well,
Okay.
let me look
I
it up.
just
I might have
aged
seen it.
myself.
That's okay. I mean, I might have seen it in an arcade somewhere. Let's
No, you have not
no?
seen it in an arcade. It was an
Really?
early
Okay.
computer game. It would not have
Oh,
worked very well in an arcade. It was
interesting.
a text-based
Oh.
RPG.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh
hard
yeah, I
to
I do
yeah.
know it, yeah.
I know of the text-based RPGs, yeah. They were made fun of on Strong Bad Email.
But I mean, like, my earliest gaming memories are like stealing my dad's laptop and playing Doom in black and white with like a trackpad for a mouse, like the little felt
Right.
circle. And
My
like, and
my my
Yeah.
my earliest gaming memories are Space Invaders on the Atari 2600.
damn.
And I pretty much stopped being good at video games by Super Nintendo, except for baseball. Baseball, I figure out on pretty much any system.
Nice.
But
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, I like I'm not a huge online gamer. There's some things that I really love to play. Like I sessioned Diablo 4 with a couple other friends and like played it with my old co-writer Lonnie Nadler. Him and I would
okay.
get together because we lived on different coasts and it was just like we meet up in Diablo and we would get shit done, but we would be chat like laughing hysterically about like hot dogs or something while we're killing demons, right? But like this new experience that I had where my nephew plays Fortnite, and it's like my nephew lives on the West Coast and I live on the East Coast, and I was like, huh, well, Fortnite's free. I could just get Fortnite on my console and then play with him, right? And it's like, so he's like 10 years old and he's amazing at the game, but it's like a way
So,
for me to
so you
kind
get
of
your ass kicked on a regular basis.
well, no, we play
But
together, so I we
oh,
win
okay.
because he's so
So
good,
you win
Oh wow.
because he just
Yeah,
puts you up on his
exactly.
shoulder.
Yep.
10-year-old is carrying the whole
I
team, but
got you,
like,
Uncle Zach.
but it's like neat, right? Where it's like, oh, these like I have memories, and when I see him, we can talk about these things that we've done in the game, right? And in
Right.
this way that is like it's this intangible reality that bridges the distance between us in a nice way where it's like, I guess it's like if we went to the park and played guns, I don't know, you guys were little boys, I'm sure played guns at some point where it's just like
Yep. Yep. I
picking up
always had
Something
sticks
like
sticks.
as my
that.
guns. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And so
wasn't
like
allowed to have actual toy guns, so like
yeah,
sticks could
Same.
neither
become
was I.
guns.
Yeah. I remember taking my parents' telescope
And that's what we
and
called it too. We called it guns. It wasn't cops and
yeah.
robbers. It wasn't cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
just
you want
like
to play guns?
yeah.
Oh.
But it's like that, right? It's like, this sort of ability to sort of have that moment of play with him that I wouldn't get
Yeah.
otherwise, which it was strange to me at first to kind of like use that as a way to like bond, and then I kind of see it now and I'm just like, man, we're so lucky to have that. Like technology's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I miss the days. Well, I have a nephew that I'm trying to get into comics with gifting him something every birthday, every Christmas sort of thing. Last I got him was the Junie and the Impossible Monsters. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Jana.
Jonna, that's it. My
yeah.
Jana.
apologies. My apologies.
Junie Ba is the
Right.
monkey meat artist.
Yep. I
Jana
got
is the
I got that mixed up in the store
Both
shopping
are
too.
amazing.
Yeah,
Both are
yeah.
amazing.
Different audiences, very different audiences.
I mean, Junipa's done some stuff that I think would fit into.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I give Monkey Meat to the same people I give Vajana to, but
Right.
like Legends of the Earl King, maybe.
Mhm. But yeah, it's video games definitely do have that immediate shared experience and interactivity that's easier to bond. Whereas, saying, "Hey, here's a book I really liked. Do you feel like reading this?" It's the kind of thing that you can get reactions immediately from someone in that experience, as opposed to even my mom, who's an avid reader. Sometimes she'll just zero in on getting things from the library, and I'll be like, "Hey, mom, here's a graphic novel I think you really like," and she's like, "Oh, okay," and proceeds to read 27 other books before taking a look at it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
But
it's
every once in a while, they grab that graphic novel, and you think oh, I finally got them to read a graphic novel. The next thing you know, they've read like 30,
yep,
and they're
yep.
asking you about stuff, and it's like, oh, cool.
Oh, so here's a question that's coming to mind is so while this isn't this is kind of a subgenre that I don't have a special word for, but I refer to them as like video game stories,
Mhm.
other books, shows, comics that deal with video games and the concept of playing them, as opposed to a second reality. Would you say that there were, well, aside from Sword Art Online, um, did you do research into that sort of genre to see how to differentiate yourself, or was it kind of I'm aware of this thing, we're just going to go our own way with it?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Like I try my best whenever I'm working on anything to sort of like do some preliminary research to sort of like go, okay, here's what exists in the space, but then also try and steer myself away from anything that may be too similar so they just don't bleed into the book, right? Like, and
Yeah.
like the thing that I found interesting in comics is like there's a lot of fantasy adjacent sort of storytelling, but like it kind of firmly goes into like the tabletop D&D RPG style gaming and less
Hmm.
into sort of the MMO World of Warcraft thing that like I was kind of brought up on. Like, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, I love tabletop gaming and stuff, but I also think like, and it's probably partly strategic if I had to guess, because those things exist in the same space, right? Like, you can go and get a D&D handbook from the same store that you're buying your comic from, but you can't
Hmm.
necessarily go and get World of Warcraft from the same store that you're buying Cemetery Kids from. So like, now I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, maybe I've made a huge mistake. Um,
We just need
Yeah,
a few
particularly as
businesses to make a few
GameStop
choices.
just announced that they're pivoting away from games.
Oh boy.
but like I think there's something interesting there about sort of a generational gap too, maybe, where it's like I'm definitely like I was 14 when online gaming sort of started, and or like that's how old I, if I reminisce on it, that's sort of how old I felt at the moment, I guess.
Hmm.
Maybe it could have been like I was 12 or whatever, but like the
Hmm.
idea that when I was 14, I was able to like log on into high-speed internet and play with strangers online. And when you're 14 and this new cool thing comes along, that really owned me
Hmm.
for almost a decade, right? And sort of defined my early um sort of like social life. I talked about this a lot in the promotion for Volume 1, but like my younger brother and I um weren't really friends. And then we started playing World of Warcraft together. And that was like how we ended up bonding in a really big way. And so like uh that a lot of that is in Volume 1 of just sort of
So
like,
he owes you his
yes.
career as a streamer, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like that was like a huge space where like all of a sudden we had a common goal and all of a sudden we wanted to do the same things. And it wasn't like fighting over space for the family room TV. It was like I had a computer, he had a computer, and they were like on other sides of a wall. So we
Hmm.
could still talk to each other like through the wall and hear each other, but we had
Wow.
like a common goal, right? And like it predated sort of like online voice chat, and like this sort of thing that we're doing right now was
Hmm.
not possible at all. And so it was very novel at the time. And um when you're sort of like coming into your own as a teenager and you're able to do that, it just sort of there's memories I have of that time that feel just they occurred in video games, but they feel just as real to me as like cruising around in my friend's car and like throwing water balloons or whatever we
Yeah,
ended up doing as teens. But
yeah,
like
that's
yeah, it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating to like kind of reflect on that.
it is. It's I was never in a band, but I played a lot of Rock Band.
There you go. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, I that whole yeah, there's it's one of those things where, the specific memories of third grade might fall by the wayside, but I'm gonna remember Ocarina of Time like the back of my hand.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'd even say that I think that the age range, the time of age, the adolescence coming of age era, it's great because video games are a great space for, hey, here's your own private world that, your experiences that are allowing you to grow up and become the person that you are away from, you know, both the people you've known and hard reality to the point where, I think that's just such fertile story ground for the concept of people playing a video game together, and then the fact that your alternate world might have repercussions outside the game, those sorts of things. That's another great aspect too, with more and more of our online lives bleeding into our physical lives,
Yeah,
and
and
those sorts of
and
things.
the distinction is less clear than it ever has been, right? Like there used to
Hmm.
be like I don't know if you guys remember the early days of Facebook, but it was like when I was like 17 and Facebook was getting started, it was very common for me and a bunch of people who were not of drinking age to
Hmm.
go out and drink and take 95 photos of each other and then upload them all. It'd be like Friday night, right? And you're like
Yep.
passed out on stairs or face down in your own vomit, and you're like, that was a that was bad, ostensibly very bad. And I'm so glad a lot of that's been like cleaned up and removed from the world. But like there was a element of like it just didn't feel permanent. It didn't feel like, oh, this will be around in 10 years. So I don't really like you don't really think about that sort of stuff, at least in those early days. And I find that really interesting because we just sort of like shared so much of ourselves in the early days of social media. And I think you're starting to see people kind of take a step back and be a little bit more guarded now about what they present online. And, there's the other version where there's people who are very carefully curated and sort of specific about what they put out there. And then there's other people who don't give a fuck at all and they just sort of do whatever. And like, I don't know if there's any right way to do it, but it is interesting how we all sort of have to define the boundaries of how we reveal ourselves on social media, and then like that does change what you get out of it, right? I'm in a
Hmm.
career where I have to be online. I don't have a choice. I have to be out there telling people about my work all the time. Um, but I'm also very careful about how much of my actual personal life I put out there because I also, like I mentioned before, live in a really small place. So if I was like posting photos in front of my house, well, 150,000 people, and if one of them reads my shit and they don't like it, they
Hmm.
could find my fucking house pretty quick, right? And it's just sort of like you don't always I didn't think about that in the early days, but like when I first started out and we were writing for Marvel and you would get like your first death threat or whatever, you kind of
Hmm.
have a moment where you're like, huh.
You mean I wasn't supposed to put a pin with your address
Yeah,
on our
please.
show notes?
There we go.
Please don't dox me.
Yeah, right. Oh
But I mean, like,
goodness.
I do think that's interesting, right? In the way that, like, we've had to sort of, like, kind of take a step back and then, like, but the thing that's fascinating is like I think we're fully immersed now. There is no distinction.
Hmm.
There's so many people who, um, they go on like and I agree with this, like what happens to them, but like people will go on like a racist rant in a store, right, in a McDonald's, and they get
Hmm.
recorded, and then
Yep.
it turns out they're a lawyer, and they fucking lose
Yeah.
their job, and as they should, because like we should be using these tools for good to sort of create social
Well,
justice.
I mean, they
But
might lose their jobs in Canada. Here, they get hired at the White.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
That's
and like that's also a reaction to that, right? Like the reason we're in this mess is because we have had a deep knee-jerk reaction to people's online lives being used against them. So they're like, okay, well, you know what? I want to be my worst self. I want to be an ignorant asshole, and I'm entitled to be that. And you're just gonna have to deal with it. And you're like,
See,
why don't you just
now
be
I gotta
quiet?
release that video because you're the white guy going, I want to be an ignorant
oh no.
asshole. I'm entitled.
But I
It gives you
think
some selective entity.
there's some people like that, right? Like
I
that are
know.
just
Yeah.
sort
Oh,
of like
totally.
Yeah.
that's
Totally.
the cultural
Y
moment we're in. And
Yesterday we were looking at they literally sell at Trump rallies the white
Mhm.
privilege card. Trump's
oh,
all good from birth to death.
oh, yeah. And the thing is like, you know, the reality is that like these are tools that can create connections. Like I was talking about with my nephew, right? Like
Mhm.
a really powerful thing that can kind of like do this magical thing that can bring people together. And as a tool of community, obviously people are going to use it to sort of push people apart because I think the reality is that social media, being online and secondary realities, whatever you want to call them, can be extremely powerful tools for community, but I think the people in power, whoever they may be, have figured that out. So it's advantageous to basically be like pollute pollute it with as much shit as humanly possible,
And
so
it's
people
almost like you're
don't.
saying we're not allowed to have nice things.
We're not, yeah.
We get
And then the
radio, we
other,
get Father Coughlin, we get TV, we get the 700 Club, and now you're saying they mess with our social media too.
but the other thing too is I think it's also super important to match what you're doing online with tangible
Yeah.
reality, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah.
Yeah.
have to, you can't be like, well, I posted No Kings rally, like hell yeah, guys. It's like you gotta get it, you have to match it with physical action. And I think that like kind of part of the mess that we're in these days with rising
You,
fascism across the globe is because we've been pacified to believe that all I have to do is express the sentiment and I get the feeling of doing a thing, even though I didn't do the thing, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're in a tricky situation, guys.
It is. I actually I felt that difference because actually I did join in on a protest on Saturday for that was the first time in my life
me
Nice.
too.
that I'd ever been to
Not
one.
the
Yeah.
first time in my life.
Yeah, I was one of those where I'm like, damn, I wish I'd done more of this earlier, because yeah, I felt like I felt is it was a borderline religious experience, of that like, wow, this actually does feel like I am interacting with a large group of people in a positive way, and we are all, I
I
don't I
think
don't I don't experience that very often.
I don't know where yours was, Phil, but mine was
Hmm.
on like a busy street corner
Hmm.
with like a
Same.
mall on one side and a Walmart on another and a Target on another and a Home Depot or no, I guess a Menards. So
Hmm.
like three big box stores and a mall all on one corner. So, one of the or busier corners in the county and
Hmm.
like there were people on all four sides of it. So you couldn't drive through without being right next to um but what I caught and loved was the number of cars with handicap placards and
Hmm.
either all old people in them or like the 90-year-old with their 70-year-old child driving
Hmm.
that were like making loops to honk.
Oh wow.
Like
Nice.
they couldn't protest. They didn't have the energy to be out in the big crowd with their walker or whatever, but they got their child or their grandchild to pick them up at the nursing home and make loops.
Mhm.
That's
And you got
great.
these old
It's awesome.
ladies
Yeah,
sticking their fists out windows.
the car based protesting. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but I mean, it's just astounding the amount of uh the difference it makes between what you're doing where and in what context. It's just it's that entirely. It's
I
that.
mean, when you're online, it's easy to be in the echo too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
easy.
when you're out in person, um, I mean, you're not going to change the minds of the people that are hard on the other side, but you know, I'm autistic, so I did a lot of counting, and I lost count of the people who were kind enough to beep for us somewhere in the thousands. But the two
Mm,
numbers that like were meaningful in my head, there were only two people that felt the need to roll down their window and shout something Trump related.
mm,
And then two more, one flipped us off and one booed at us without rolling their window
Hmm.
down. On
mm,
the flip side, there were five people driving semis with markings for corporations
mm,
who pulled their horns for us. So five people who were
mhm.
literally putting their jobs on the line to support the people versus four people who felt the need to take any sort of action to show their disdain. And that was a hardening number, along with just the numbers of. I mean, I couldn't see the end of people
That's
in
great.
various directions, and this is in like North suburban Chicago, So not the big city one. I mean, my wife did more of the looks to see the numbers, and I think it got estimated at 5 or 6,000. So, on one side, not huge. On another side,
It definitely all adds up. It's all, the
well, I mean,
scale
eh,
matters.
yeah, well, but like within 10 miles of there are maybe 100,000 people living, but there were also three other No Kings
There you go.
events,
Exactly. It's
and you were less than 50 miles from one of the massive ones. You could
mhm.
hop on a train to go down to the city of Chicago one. So, like, to have 5,000 people on a street corner is actually pretty impressive.
And
It is.
they're community members, right? That are like your
Right.
neighbors and
Right.
everything. So it like tells you like, hey, like as a community, there's
I mean, you
5,000 of
live
us
on
here.
yeah,
Mhm.
you live on a small island, so your take on what a community is probably a little different. We were kind of shocked that we recognized a couple of people.
Yeah, but I mean that's
Yeah.
great, right? Like I think
Right.
like uh, not the same, but like we had a really terrible hurricane
Right.
here a couple years
Mhm.
ago, and it like thrashed my neighborhood. And I really didn't know my neighbors that well, but the day after that hurricane and everything
You
was,
started getting to know them really fast.
well, because they needed help fucking chopping
Yep.
down trees on their fence
Yep.
and stuff. And then you learn their
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
names and get their
Hmm.
stories, and you sort of go like, well, fuck, like, the government didn't show up to help us with this shit. So the only way that
Yeah.
these
Right.
trees are going to go away is if we do it together. And you just have these moments where you're like,
This is
oh,
where I
this
have
is
to point out for our US uh listeners that like the one thing that our government used to do pretty well was show up for that sort of thing, but we have
Mhm.
gutted it. So I am not looking forward to this year's first hurricane. And hurricane
I
season did just start, much to the surprise of the director of FEMA, who did not realize that there was a season for
But I mean,
hurricane.
like, just like to put it in perspective, we
Mhm.
also like I'm in Canada, but
Yeah,
our funding was cut to those types of things too,
yeah,
right? So it's like
yeah,
the the cavalry didn't show up, right? Like
right.
you have this idea that this is like, oh, these people are going to roll in and help you clean up, but at the end of the day, like people did come and people did help clean up, but was after I didn't have power for 11 days.
Right. Well, and
And it's
that's
like,
the other thing
well,
is
Yep.
why it's so important to have like strong emergency management is no matter how strong your emergency management is, you're going to have to triage, and there's going to wind up being communities that don't get help immediately and are going to have to step up on their own anyway. But if
yeah,
you don't have strong emergency management, that's everybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like
And
it's just
you can't
important.
start having, okay, this area is good. Let's start sending, firefighters that aren't working here can go cut down trees there. Logistics are a big deal for I think we're going to get to talk about this a little soon. Andrew Iden, who co-wrote March with John Lewis, is Good Trouble is doing a anthology with Appalachia Comics that I think will launch on Kickstarter Wednesday. I feel like
Cool.
Wednesday. Um, Still raising money for Hurricane Helene from last year because he's been on the ground doing lots to help with hurricane whatever. So he's coming to join me sometime next week. So I'll get to learn all sorts of stuff about hurricane management.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, it is. It's one of the things that frustrates me when I see so many people like so easily dehumanize or make lesser all sorts of people. When disaster hits, when big things hit, people show up for each other. So why do they forget that they're all people when things are going well? Just how is it so easy to go, I mean, in the United States, we don't actually have laws against undocumented immigrants joining our military. We've
Hmm.
had plenty of them in our military. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
we very much don't have laws about undocumented immigrants paying taxes, and most undocumented immigrants go out of their way to pay taxes because the last
Hmm.
thing they want to happen is for their documentation status to pop up on somebody's radar because their taxes aren't paid.
Hmm. It's
even
such
though
a catch
even
22.
though they can't actually collect Social Security and Medicare.
Wow.
So they're
Yeah.
paying into a system that they are never going to take out of unless they get citizenship status. Um,
Yeah. That's the big lie of America, right?
it is
Just one of
one
them.
of many,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
one of many.
Uh,
And I try so hard to call it the United States because you're
yeah.
in America. All of
Whether you like
all
it
of
or
South
not.
America is part of America. And like I know that there are some people in other countries that are like, please don't paint us with that brush. You're
Mhm.
the United States.
Mhm.
We're part of America.
I'm in the
There might be
51st
some
state
people that
officially.
don't know the difference.
Oh gosh. Oh goodness. Um, so I had a trail of thoughts from a minute ago that to tie all of this scope and scale back to Cemetery Kids. Um,
Great.
so another fascinating phenomena about being online sometimes is, and I saw this in it was a documentary about a doxing website in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and all the people they interviewed kept saying everyone was on there. Oh, everyone was on there, and I'm like, I'd never heard of this place. I'd never heard of this website at all, and it's supposedly the most popular thing ever. So that made me think of, that happens with video games too, where you might think, oh, this is the greatest game of all time. How has nobody else heard of Drakengard, or
Never heard
any
of it.
number. Yeah, that's fair. That's
I mean, the answer is you could name 1,000 video games, and I probably haven't heard of 990 of them.
right. So it's just, this is maybe a niche question, but
Unless you name strictly 1,000 Mario games, because I think they're up to 1,000 now, aren't they?
they're getting there. There's a lot of Mario games, that's for sure. But
And then my answer would just be, well, I've heard of Mario.
there you go. There you go. But do you have like a mental idea of the scale of Cemetery Kids, or is it just one of those things that you don't even worry about?
I do, yeah. I kind of see it as like an international thing. Not nearly on the scale of like a Fortnite or anything like that, but sort of like definitely has a player base in the
Hmm.
millions. That's sort of where my head
Gotcha.
is like early days of I use early days of World of Warcraft a lot as a mental frame of reference because that's sort of like the thing that
Hmm.
I was very immersed in at the time when I was involved in something like this, and then
Let's
also sort
see.
of like very sort of still big, but not big enough that it's sort of like a household name. Like I feel like Fortnite is a thing where it's like
Yeah.
everyone knows what it is, right? And I think it's important to sort of also recognize that this is like a horror RPG, so it's not the broadest appeal of a type of game too. So it's the type of thing that like most parents are just like, oh yeah, that's just that thing that they play when they go to sleep and they don't really know anything about. And like the idea is also that there's other games on this console, right? So it's like
Mm.
this isn't the only thing that people play on the console. It's just that it's the thing that we're tapped into specifically.
That is certainly
That I didn't pick
fascinating.
up on. That's.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to get to see any of the other games?
That's the plan is sort of to slowly build this out and sort of like my whole real goal is like the first arc and the second arc sort of function as one larger meta story about these friends, right? What happened to them and what happens to them after they kind of retrieve pick. But if it were to continue, the idea is to sort of like get into, if you survive all of this shit, you go, who the fuck did this to us? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And let's go fucking find them and let's do something about it, right? And so that's the sort of idea of like how we would keep going after this is sort of like, okay, let's now start talking about what the world thinks and we're slowly getting there. And that's sort of what we're building to. The idea being that, like, you know, um, are there people out in the world, like journalists, that are doing research about this? What other games are people playing? Are they having similar
Hmm.
side effects on people? That kind of thing. Because I think it's all very fascinating and it's certainly like opens the world up. Like, if you look, there are subtle things that we've shown where it's like, the tablet that Wilson uses in issue 1 is flesh,
I
same as
saw
the
that.
yeah. And so
That's
like
pretty
all
sweet.
the technology is sort of the same vibe. So it's like this is not quite reality, right? It's like a world just left of reality. And the idea being that like so we can kind of twist what your expectations are every time because I also feel like that's just sort of like more interesting as like a reader and as a writer, where you're just like, well, I don't want this to be set in a firm sort of one-to-one with the world I know. I'm like, because I know the story of like when this technology came into prevalence and sort of what it
Mm.
did and sort of how it's kind of changed the course of history on this timeline. And sort of like
You're
broadly what is going on like geopolitically and all that stuff. All things that are sort of in the background, but certainly not the focus of the story, because I think it's more important to just sort of like hone in on the characters, especially when you only have 4 issues to do it.
Oh yeah. That is thrilling and exciting to hear for sure. Like that's basically everything that I'd want to see out of this series.
Cool.
Though
In the
you
sense of, yeah.
also just put the end credit sequence from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in my head when you said going after the guys. So I think you could do like a free comic day issue where they're just going door to door and going, "Are you Big Balls 14?"
So good.
There you go. Oh, that is amusing. But yeah, no, that is so I can only imagine, the differences between what happened to Pick and someone who went into a coma playing Tetris, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. it is so
That could
so
be weird.
bad.
Tetris
Yeah,
coma.
Tetris coma. You just
Yep.
start seeing the blocks, but like I've had moments where like I used
I
to play
think
like
I've been in a
DDR.
Tetris coma.
You
Haven't
played
we
a
all?
DDR, is that what you said?
Yeah, like Dance
Yeah.
Dance Revolution, and that's all the arrows, right? And I
Oh
would
yeah.
play it for hours sometimes, and I would go to bed and close my eyes, and I would see the arrows like coming down and like in the and
Oddly
just
enough,
like yeah, have you
that
This
experienced
is
it?
this is Phil in Rock Band.
so well, not quite, but they called that the Tetris effect because Tetris was the first game that caused that to happen to people, where they would close their eyes and still see the game happening because the pattern recognition was so strong that
Yeah,
your eyes would keep expecting it.
yeah, it does crazy things to you. And it's like I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals recently, and I can hear like I'll hear someone say a stupid phrase, like a phrase that is sort of similar to like what one of the characters will say, and I'll hear it in my head, like the
Oof.
Iron Man saying that line, and I'm just like, man, I'm
Yeah.
my brain is cooked. Like,
The most a video game has ever rotted my brain was Red Dead Redemption 2. I got it for Christmas in like Christmas of 2018. Played it for literally about a month and a half straight before I started up a new job at the library. It was literally like, well, my start date's the 14th. I've got, this much time to be a cowboy. I'm going to be a cowboy. And
hell yeah.
like the way that people walked in groups with like the physics of and their walking engine in that game, I like mentally was mimicking and like observing people in that way when I
You
then was part
became
of a group tour.
bow-legged, is what
I
you're
did
saying?
a little bit. It was yeah, it was reality
You
warping for
you
sure.
you constantly moving your fingers,
What
tapping the imaginary gun.
what do I do with my hands? It's one of those sort of moments. Where's my utility bar? Yeah,
Ah,
it is wild the amount of aspects of these games that, when you pump it into your brain for a long enough period of time, it will come to almost rely on it in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, and that's sort of what the whole book is sort of scratching at too, is sort of like what do these things sort of leave you with? And obviously
Hmm.
like heightened to a horrific degree, so it's not pattern recognition, but it's like maybe deep-seated a lifelong trauma or
Hmm.
disease.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see where exactly go with that because there's a bunch of different things that I unfortunately that the deep set trauma um and this is a weird tangent. That's part of Scientology, Enneagrams. That's like a part of their belief system that there are these cosmic patterns recurring over and over, sort of thing. So yeah, so that line is already thin enough.
Yeah, this is just a soft pitch for Scientology, this whole book.
There we go.
let's see
Scientology,
how
the
it
video
is.
game, coming to your Dreamware soon.
Let's pivot a little bit and give us front counter pitch for Into the Unbeing.
Yes, super simple. Four climate scientists wander into the Australian outback and enter the mouth of a giant undead creature and get trapped inside the body.
That
Shake its
works.
shake
And
its
I've
beard.
read the first volume and it was amazing.
Oh,
Need to
thank
read the
you.
second. I've got it lined up. And then this one I might dig a little bit further into because it might be my favorite book of yours, if only because it caught me completely off guard. It was that thing that was not like the others. Give us the pitch on Blow Away.
Yeah, wildlife videographer stationed on a mountain there to look at birds, ends up kind of enamored with two climbers and thinks that she witnesses a murder between one of the climbers pushing the other climber off the mountain. But can she trust her eyes? Can she trust her footage?
That was, I mean, I hadn't even like thought of the loneliness of the wildlife videographer, and then like mix that in with the murder mystery and like that book just had so many layers. And the art, who's the art on that? I can't remember right now.
Nicola Izzo.
Yes, Nicola Izzo's art was just outstanding.
Yeah,
You
very
know,
expressive and
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, we've had you for more than an hour now. Well, we've had you for more than an hour and a half. But like, I had to wake up. Phil had to get home from work, so we made you. But it's about time to ask my standard closing question because it's my favorite question to ask. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't really have rules. Um, Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. Something that you love that not enough people around you have experienced and you want them to, so that you have more people to talk about it with.
Yeah. This right here. It is uh, Kasumi Yusada's Fool Night. It's a manga about sort of like catastrophic climate change has happened. The sky is eternal night, and essentially, like plants are dying out en masse.
Okay.
So human beings can sign up for a process called transfloration where they turn themselves into plants, and they're giving large sums of money to do that. It's not painful or anything like that, and so it takes place in this horrible version of the world where the sky is always black, and then there's like corpses, but they're kind of plants everywhere, haunting people and there is a sentient transflorated corpse running around murdering people. So it's like it's my favorite thing in the world, and I feel like more people should read
And
Yeah,
it looks
I
like
I would
there
read that.
are
it.
four volumes available in print, and it
Yes, yeah.
is on Viz Manga. If you have your Viz Manga subscription, though, and I don't think I've ever seen this before, it says chapters 35 to 63 are currently unavailable. We are working to backfill these chapters. So you can read the
Ooh,
first 35 chapters, and you can read chapters 64 through 97 if you
wow.
have a Viz subscription.
And
But
coincidentally enough, oh, sorry, go ahead.
35 to 63, sometime.
You're not allowed to have
Just
those.
imagine it. And coincidentally enough, at least according to the dates in Wikipedia, Volume 5 comes out tomorrow in
Oh,
Hey,
English.
cool.
hey.
Yeah,
That's great news because I'm gonna go buy that
I
tomorrow
was gonna say, I'm like, well, it's
then.
your favorite thing. You should know.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
I'm gonna go get it. That's great. That just made my night.
And I just favorited it on well, and that's a big deal because volume 5 is starts with issue 36. So like if
Two
I
missing
go and
chapters.
read through the first four volumes, I know that I can go get that volume 5 and continue. I mean, it looks like each volume is like 9 chapters roughly.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah. 8 in the first, and then 9 to 17, 18 to 26, 27 to 35. So we're probably missing at least 2, maybe 3 volumes. Though hopefully, like the fact that they're putting out a volume 5 means that those chapters will appear on Viz Manga before I get to it. Um, because I this there are 3 subscription services that I will like absolutely plug. Um, Global Comics just has a crap ton of comics for I forget if it's $7 or $8 a month, but like totally reasonable pricing, total crap ton of comics. But both Viz Manga and Shonen Jump are $3 whole a month for just a massive amount of manga chapters. So those
Yeah,
who don't
that's
have
too
space,
good.
yeah, those who don't have space on their shelves, or want to be able to dip their toes into a lot of things. Those are things to look at. Yeah, Full Night looks Very cool. I'm gonna have to definitely gonna have to check that out. I like these
It's like
covers.
you had me at turn yourself into a plant, and then you just kept going. And
I mean,
Yeah.
it does also feel very much like a Zach Thompson.
Well, yeah. When someone described
I
it to me, I was
feel
like,
like
"Holy shit!" Yeah.
you're like I didn't give them permission to write that. Are you certain?
It's so nice though
When
to
did it
find
come
stuff
out?
like that because it's just
Do,
like, oh, this was made for
do,
me. Like,
do I need to sue them for copyright? But no, actually, it looks like it actually started in 2024.
hmm
Maybe that's just when it got put up here.
Yeah,
No,
probably
it's
when
Yeah,
it got translated. Yeah.
yeah, it was the
yeah,
translation
yeah.
started in
The
24, but
first the first
yeah.
60 yeah, the first 69 chapters all got put up on January 21st or 25th, 2024, except for those missing ones. Okay. So they're giving us the wool or the I just saw the Wolverine Snick comic, so I almost said the Wolverine release date. They're giving us the digital release date, not the actual release date.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, very cool. Zach, thank you so much. I'm certain we'll talk again. I'm sorry it took so long this time. I kept reading another book and reading another book. I'm like, I gotta write Zach again. I gotta write Zach again. I gotta write Zach again. And then it was Cemetery Kids again, and I'm like, I really need to write Zach again.
Perfect opportunity to come back.
We've gone full circle now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that means shortly after this interview, you'll have 3 more books announced, right? Is that it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's
gonna.
how it goes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Let me ask really quickly, is there anything that you're allowed to talk about that I haven't mentioned yet?
No.
No, it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be tomorrow. Yeah.
There we go.
Tomorrow I'll read the beat and it'll be exclusive, Zach Thompson. I talked to Heidi McDonald the end of the week, so like if she gets an exclusive between now and then, I'm gonna give her shit. I'm just telling you. So for 22 panels, this has been Zach Thompson. We will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.